I have to be honest with you. I'm still processing the breakup news. It just feels like the end of an era.
The breakup news. I didn't realize we were doing celebrity gossip today. I came prepared for aerospace.
We are talking aerospace. I'm talking about the ultimate power couple, Elon Musk and Mars. It's over. Or, at least it's complicated.
The tweet.
He effectively friend-zoned the red planet on Super Bowl Sunday.
Right. I mean, for 20 years, Mars was the love of his life. The entire reason SpaceX even exists was to make humanity multi-planetary, and that meant Mars.
Exactly. And then, boom, February 2026, probably between commercials, he just drops it. SpaceX is shifting focus to a self-growing city on the moon.
The moon?
The moon. It's like dumping your mysterious, adventurous partner to go back to your high school sweetheart who still lives in their parents' basement.
That is a colorful analogy, but not entirely wrong. It was a huge pivot. Musk basically said a moon city could happen in less than 10 years, but a Mars city is looking more like a 20-plus year slog.
Which is just wild. I feel like we've been hearing Mars is 5 years away since, 2016?
At least.
So today we're unpacking this massive shift. We've got the tweets, we have some government reports, and a really fascinating analysis from the Belfer Center. We are going to figure out why Elon suddenly loves the moon, what a self-growing city actually is, and maybe why the moon is the only way we don't, die trying to get to Mars.
It's a really interesting pivot, and it's less about romance, I think, and more about just cold, hard logistics.
Yeah.
And a lot of chemistry.
Okay, let's start with the why. Why the sudden change of heart? Is he just impatient?
Well, you can think of it as a commute problem.
A commute from hell.
Pretty much. Imagine you want to visit a friend, but the bus, it only stops at your house once every 2 years.
That is a terrible bus service. Just awful.
That's Mars. See, Earth and Mars, they orbit the sun at different speeds.
Yeah.
And they only really line up for a fuel-efficient trip. We call it a home-on transfer once every 26 months.
So if you miss that bus,
you're stuck. You are waiting on Earth for 2 more years for the planets to get back in position.
And the trip itself.
That's 6 to 9 months. It's a massive, massive commitment.
Okay, so compare that to the moon.
The moon is like catching an Uber to the grocery store. You can launch roughly every 10 days or so, depending on the orbit, and the trip takes maybe 3 days.
So Mars is a cross-country road trip with a screaming toddler, and the moon is a quick hop to the shops.
Exactly. And that leads to the core philosophy at SpaceX, which is all about iteration.
Right. Their whole model is fail fast, learn fast.
Yep. We all watched those early Starships blow up, 4 times? Before they finally nail the landing. You build it, it explodes, you look at the data, you build a better one next week. You can't do that. You cannot fail fast if your feedback loop is 3 years long.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. If you send a prototype toilet to Mars and it breaks.
You don't even know it's broken for 6 months. And then you can't send a plumber or a new part for another 2 years.
That's a genuine nightmare. Houston, please hold it for 26 months.
Exactly. On the moon, if the toilet breaks, you could have a whole redesigned version on the surface in a week. You can iterate hardware on the moon at maybe 100 times the speed you can on Mars.
The moon is the ultimate testing ground.
It is. But
yeah,
there's a darker reason for the pivot, too. Musk himself brought up this fear of colony collapse.
That sounds like the title of a sci-fi horror movie.
Well, it's a real existential risk.
Yeah.
Musk's worry is that a Mars colony is going to be completely dependent on Earth for supplies for decades.
Right.
So if something catastrophic happens here on Earth, a war, another pandemic, an economic collapse, and those ships start coming.
The Mars colony just dies out.
Instantly. They starve, the machines break down, they can't fix them, it's over. But a moon colony, it's 3 days away. It's a life raft that's much, much easier to keep afloat.
It's easier to get to the life raft if it's tied to the dock instead of floating in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
That's it exactly. So the moon makes sense. But that phrase he used, self-growing city, that's what really caught my attention.
Yeah, that stood out. Self-growing, it sounds biological, like you're planting a seed or something. What does that actually mean? We're not talking about watering moon rocks.
No. Well, it means an industrial complex. We're not just sending astronauts to plant a flag, we're sending factories.
Okay.
And one of the wildest ideas they're talking about is something called a mass driver.
A mass driver? That sounds like a weapon from a video game like Halo.
It's basically a giant electromagnetic catapult.
A space catapult, seriously.
Yes, think about it. The moon has 1/6 the gravity of Earth, and this is crucial. It has no atmosphere, no air resistance.
So no drag.
Zero drag. On Earth, if you tried to shoot something into space with a railgun, the air friction would just incinerate it. But on the moon, you can build a long magnetic rail and literally shoot cargo into orbit just using electricity.
You're telling me Elon wants to build a railgun on the moon to just yit satellites into space?
That's pretty much it, yeah. Saves a huge amount of fuel. You use solar power to charge up the catapult, and whoosh, you launch your payload without burning a single drop of propellant.
Okay, that is undeniably cool. But what are they shooting? Moon rocks.
Information. This is where it connects to Musk's other company, XAI. The reports are suggesting they want to build massive data centers on the moon.
Wait, data centers?
Right.
Why on earth would you put a server farm on the moon? Does the Wi-Fi even reach that far?
It's not about the Wi-Fi, it's about the heat. Data centers on Earth are thermodynamic nightmares. They generate so much heat, and cooling them takes just insane amounts of water and energy.
Right. I've read that AI has this huge carbon footprint just from the cooling fans running all the time.
Exactly. But space is a vacuum.
Yeah.
If you put your servers in the shadow, it's incredibly cold. You have a heat sink that's basically infinite.
Re-air conditioning?
The best. And if you build on the rims of craters at the poles, you have places where the sun almost never sets. So you get unlimited solar power and unlimited cooling.
So the moon literally becomes the cloud.
That's the vision. It turns the moon from this money pit into an actual economic engine. If the moon can process AI data and launch satellites cheap with a catapult, it starts to pay for itself.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic. It's a business plan, but I have to be the cynic here for a second. Is this really all just Elon dreaming big, or is there a reason he's doing this right now? Did he, check his bank account?
You actually just hit the nail on the head. We have to talk about the landlord.
The landlord.
NASA.
Ah, of course, the people who write the checks.
Space exploration is very expensive, and SpaceX has a contract with NASA for the Artemis program. We're talking nearly $4 billion.
And Artemis is the whole let's go back to the moon thing, right?
Correct. And the timeline is getting very tight. The political pressure from the administration in 2026 is immense. They want boots on the moon by 2028, Artemis III.
So Musk can talk about Mars all day long, but his landlord, NASA, is paying him to go to the moon.
It's exactly right. SpaceX is building the lunar lander, the Starship HLS. They have to go to the moon. If they were to focus 100% on Mars, they'd be in breach of contract. They'd lose billions.
It's like when you really want to write your great sci-fi novel, but you have to finish your term paper first because that's what's actually getting you the grade.
That's a great way to put it. There's this report from the Belfer Center. It's called Parallel Burn. It explains it perfectly. It argues it shouldn't be moon or Mars. It should be moon to Mars.
Parallel burn. I like that. So the moon is what? The prerequisite course?
Exactly. We have to figure out how to transfer cryogenic fuel in zero-G. We have to test habitats, life support, all of it. Trying to do that for the first time on the way to Mars is just suicide. If something fails, everyone dies. But doing it in lunar orbit, that's a practice run.
It's the dress rehearsal where you can still call a timeout if something goes wrong.
Yes. So the pivot isn't just Elon changing his mind. It's him aligning with the reality of his contracts and the simple engineering need to test his gear somewhere safe.
Okay, so the moon is closer, it's safer, it has free AC for all the servers, and NASA is paying for the trip. It sounds perfect! Why were we ever obsessed with Mars in the first place?
Because, and this is a big catch, physically speaking, the moon is actually a terrible place to live.
Wait, what? You just sold me on the moon city. You had me at Space Catapult.
The commute is great. The destination is chemically hostile. And this is where the chemistry gets really interesting, and it explains why Mars was always the dream. To build a self-growing city, you need ISRU.
ISRU.
In situ resource utilization. It's just fancy talk for living off the land.
Got it.
You want to turn the local rocks and air into fuel, water, food.
Yeah.
And Mars is actually a paradise for this.
Oh. It's a big red desert.
But it has an atmosphere, which is mostly CO2, and it has tons of water ice. If you have CO2 and water, you could do something called a Sabatier reaction.
Is that a new dance move?
No. It's a chemical reaction. You take carbon from the air, you take hydrogen from the water, you mix them with a catalyst, and boom, you get methane and oxygen.
And methane is the rocket fuel.
And oxygen is what you breathe.
Yeah.
So Mars is basically a fully stocked gas station.
Yeah.
It has all the ingredients you need just sitting right there to refuel your Starship for the trip home.
Okay. And the moon?
The moon is a rock. It has no atmosphere. It has almost no carbon, no nitrogen.
There's no fuel.
Not easily. You can get oxygen out of the rocks, sure, but you can't make methane fuel without carbon. So a moon city is constantly dependent on imports from Earth. It's like moving to a house that has no grocery store within 1,000 miles.
So the moon is a desert island where you have to ship in all your food and water, but Mars is like a farm where you can at least grow your own corn.
If the farm was also frozen and radioactive, then yes. But chemically, you're right. Mars has the ingredients for life. The moon just doesn't. And then there's the dust.
The dust, right. I keep hearing about this. How different can it be from, like, beach sand?
Oh, it is night and day. Sand on Earth has been tumbled by wind and water for millions of years. It's round, it's smooth.
It exfoliates.
Right. Lunar dust or regolith has never been touched by wind or water. It's just jagged, microscopic shards of glass and razor blades.
Yes.
And it's electrostatically charged, so it clings to everything.
Yeah.
During the Apollo missions, it chewed through the Kevlar on the astronauts' boots in days. It clogged the joints of their suits, scratched their visors so badly they could hardly see.
So it's like glitter made of knives?
That is a horrifyingly accurate way to describe it. And remember Musk's plan. Heavy industry, mass drivers, mining. We honestly don't know how to keep a factory running when the air is filled with razor glitter that just destroys bearings and seals instantly.
So the self-growing city might just grind itself to a halt.
That's a huge engineering hurdle. And on top of that, there's the cold. To get the water on the moon, you have to go to the South Pole into what they call permanently shadowed regions.
The dark side of the moon.
Not exactly the dark side, just these deep craters where the sun hasn't shone in billions of years. It is incredibly cold down there, close to absolute zero.
A bit chilly.
Most robotics just stop working. Lubricants freeze solid, metal becomes brittle, shatters like glass. So we're trying to send robots into a deep freeze to mine razor blade dust.
Put that on the recruitment poster. Come to the moon, it's freezing cold, and everything you touch cuts you.
It's a bit of a fixer-upper, yeah.
So if it's so awful and Mars is so hard, why are we racing there? Because it's not just Elon, right?
Oh, no. It is a full-blown space race 2.0. The neighbors are moving in.
And who are the neighbors?
China. And Jeff Bezos?
The usual suspects.
China is moving very, very fast. They're building their Long March 10 rocket. They have a stated goal of a lunar base by 2035.
And they're aiming for the same spot, right?
Everyone wants the South Pole. That's where the water is. It's the prime real estate. There are only a few spots that have good access to both constant sunlight for power and deep shadow for water.
So it's like trying to find a parking spot at the mall on Christmas Eve.
Exactly. And this is where the national security angle kicks in. If China lands there first and sets up a so-called research zone, they could effectively block the U.S. from the best resources.
You can't just call dibs.
Well, international space law says you can't own the moon, but you can establish safety zones around your equipment. And if your equipment happens to be sitting on the only good water source, you basically own the water.
That's sneaky. So Musk's pivot isn't just about his personal dream, it's actually lining up with U.S. national security interests.
Precisely. The U.S. government wants the stars and stripes planted there first again, and they're counting on SpaceX to be the bus driver.
And what about Bezos? Blue Origin.
They are going all in on the moon with their new Glenn rocket, and they have a different approach. They claim their lander won't need to refuel in orbit.
Refuel in orbit.
Yeah, that's kind of the Achilles heel of Musk's plan. To get that massive Starship all the way to the moon, it has to be refueled in Earth orbit. And it might take 10 to 12 tanker launches just to fill up one ship.
Wait, hold on. For every one trip to the moon, they have to launch 12 other rockets just to gas it up.
Yeah, it's the current math, yeah. It's a huge logistical dance, a swarm of launches. If Blue Origin can do it in one shot, they might just beat Musk to the surface, even with a smaller rocket.
Wow. The plot thickens. Okay, so let's bring this all back. We started with a breakup. Musk dumps Mars for the moon.
But I think what we figured out is that it's not really a breakup. It's more like moving back in with your parents to save up money for the house you actually want.
And the moon is the parents' basement.
The moon is the parents' basement. It's rent-free, thanks to NASA. It's close to home. And you can practice doing your own laundry before you really move out.
I love that. So the self-growing city is just a logistics hub. It's a gas station and a server farm that pays the bills so we can eventually afford that ticket to Mars.
That's the takeaway. The moon isn't the dream destination. It's the job that funds the dream.
And honestly, a moon base in 10 years. It sounds a lot more realistic than a Mars city in 5.
It does. It feels more tangible. But, realistic is a relative term when you're talking about Elon Musk.
Very true. He also said we'd be on Mars by 2024, and here we are.
Which I think brings us to the big question for you to think about.
Let's hear it.
Musk is betting everything on this industrial city. But we just talked about the dust, that razor blade regolith. What happens if the first Starship lands and the dust shreds the engines and the mass driver gets clogged with glass shards? Does the whole plan just collapse?
Or does he just invent a better vacuum cleaner?
Or is this the moment where we finally realize that becoming a two-planet species has to start with mastering our own backyard? Because if we can't survive 3 days away from home, we definitely can't survive 6 months away.
That is a terrifying but also really exciting thought. I guess we'll find out in 2028.
Or whenever the bus finally shows up.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Always a pleasure.